Hang Horsklever Sunsheen. I'd like to thank you very much for coming, and I'm going to call upon Minister Alan McGavanishter, Ian Devine, John Devine to come up, Kieran Walker, Ella Hansen, Brandy Shannon, J.D. McCullough, Nick Nickerson, and who am I missing from the program? I think that's everybody from the program. We're gonna raise. And the Gaelic Council of Nova Scotia, Ed McDonnell. I'm sorry, Ed McDonnell. We're going to raise the flag right now. So Mìos nan Gàidheal. I guess I mean the idiot. And the commissioner. I'm just going to ask the commissioner to start us off. So, Mìos nan Gàidheal, we're going to be going into the Legislative Assembly for the remainder of the program. So, if we could move in there quickly, we'll start our formal part of the program inside. Tapalev.
So, the Assembly isn't sitting at the minute, no?
Not right now.
No.
We don't sit much. Gaelic flag. Gaelic.
So, we have some seating for anybody who needs a seat. Please come forward. Anyone who needs a seat, please come forward. Anywhere at all. Anywhere at all is good, yeah. There's more seats up front. If anybody needs to have a seat, please feel free to come up. There's also space along the far wall here. If we could move in, please come on in. Hick of a stay. Welcome everyone. Maravis Rotanata Shahug, you Heinig me or an Gaelic Tuvamoy. So as things go, I forgot to mention that we were supposed to sing a Gaelic song outside and we didn't. But we'll maybe good you can Jean Chinik Jidig a program. Yeah, Guy. Kaleva. Bavalam Falcha, Wa Chriel Chudodav, I'd like to warmly welcome you, Shah Chun Naparamich Bika, to the Legislative Assembly. Our son, Mìos nan Gàidheal, Davilis Fichit Se Keher Chudid Vok, to launch for the official launch of Gaelic Nova Scotia Month 2024. I guess Munjian Muntashik Shin Edafrogam Oifis. Bavalam Einachug, go down on a cheer in the Migama, cheer Migamagi Hashin, I guess, Hashin a Ganyachug, Nancheer and Shaw, cheer and Shin Shadal, I guess, cheer and Duachasach, the Migama. Kutach, Bavalam, Scambi Shin Ula Kumalkuin, Edna Shin Shadan Gaelwach, a hacking, I guess, and G Lepahukat Green. And Colted Agus Einanya. I would like to acknowledge that we are in Migamagi, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. And I would also invite you to remember our Gaelic ancestors and the legacy that they passed on to us in terms of Gaelic language, culture, and identity. Húntach gen cael sin G East san sa chuinears nach Gael wi chacking wuch gwawerstoch dúchasach Gael Icaro Gaelic an Agoon agus Shot and a Shaw Mickey agus Flowery. We recently lost two Gaelic elders in our community, Flowery McIsaac and Mickey John H. McNeil, as he was known in English. They both, you can see their patronyms, how they were known in the Gaelic community on the screen. And we'd just like to honor them. Ounce Ndol Chasakinya, Be Shisha Elwachid, Et Corn, I guess, Ha Imig Cairn, and an All Benoy, I guess, Hashantola Hokal, Cairn Bick, and in Kuina, Vicky, I guess, Flowery. And now we're going to, in our tradition here in Nova Scotia, we have the rich and beautiful tradition of building a cairn. Cairn comes from the Gaelic word cairn, and we're going to build a small cairn to honor Mickey and Floddy and all of our Gaelic ancestors who have passed on before us, our Gaelic elders and all those who have passed on a rich heritage of Gaelic language, culture, and identity. And Hamishatolig Eachid Ailey Hansen, Vichina Nuas, Agus Aus, and Chikusa Nuas Kutchach. So, Shaw, Quach, the Vicky, Quach, the Lowry, agus Quach, the Nashinshid and Ula, Nashinshid and Gawa Hula Akinya, agus Amitolieri at Aus, Quach, Vicky, good Shias. Agus it. Lowry, agus the Nashinshid and Gawa Hula Akinya. Kurishin Cloch getting hair. Lapidov.
Okay, shade the way.
Next time it's all the idiot. Minister Iomairtean na Gàidhlig, Alain McGaveinster, son Becca Nachman Rag. Na Kucha Falcha Ed, Alain. Going to now ask Alan McMaster, the Minister for Gaelic Affairs, to come and offer remarks. Would you please welcome Minister Alain McMaster.
Falcha. Hami Gàidheal Shivi Colarive, Ula and Jew, Hatsa Shin, Akur, Mìos nan Gàidheal, Fikit Care Erikit, Ervoke. I am pleased to be with you today as we launch Gaelic Nova Scotia Month 2024. Ha Office Iomairtean na Gaelic Gàidheal Shivi Agopur, and an comperstichus, Ricarlin na Gaelic, agus Office Realtus na Halban, gus a Mìos Achur Dai is the Vrosnachug. The Office of Gaelic Affairs is pleased to be working with the Gaelic Council of Nova Scotia and the Scottish Government Office to recognize and promote the month. Leshanulad Gaoich na Cria, Hashina Torsh Kurug do Gur Albanich Ula, Aviri Ransahug is a V ag a Vuanachug, and Kuch Dulhash Gaoich. With the theme Gaelic at heart, we are inviting all Nova Scotians to explore and reclaim their own Gaelic heritage. Hanagail and Albanue Ariach Dahug Un Trian Yen Pluag, and Savorain is ro canon, culture is Anya, Hashiner Avi Kur Avribea Namorainig, Fat Core is Da Hud Sahiad Bliana. Sherut Miolchach Ahaun Maralen Nagail Ora is Ha War Aginag Etcha Sonacha Garvoroin and an Ameriga Tua Erfat. Gaelic, Nova Scotia Gaels represent 1/3 of the province's population, and we've been contributing to the life of the province for more than 250 years. She Priav run yen Immers Vawachi and Bliana, Avia Shalaton, Maraha Gael, run canon is cultured, is Alban Nuag Hain etter Hunchi, is Hagewach Nakria, Akur Show and Kale, is Mia Mishnahug, Ur Albanach Ula, Avia Kumelsuas Dulhash, Hananich, is Hulchulal Frieshala, is Avia Torst Uram Ora. A key objective of this year's Gaelic Nova Scotia Month campaign is to demonstrate how Gaels, through their language and cultural expression, and Nova Scotia itself are intertwined. Gaelic at Heart captures this, and I encourage all Nova Scotians to honor and celebrate our unique linguistic and cultural heritage and identity. The Maxwell family, who we are about to learn more about today, are living proof of how Gaelic has brought our worlds together. an African Nova Scotian connection to Gaelic. And I was doing a little reading on this last night, looking at an old, I think it was Cape Breton magazine article. And it was an enjoyable article. Actually, George Maxwell came to Judic, which is my hometown, or as we would say in Gaelic, Shutik, which is about a 20-minute drive from as soon as you cross the causeway up the western coast of Cape Breton Island. And one of the things George said made me laugh because it reminds me of so much at home. He said, and he was referring to all of the physical labor they did in those days. If you were going to build a house, you didn't go to the hardware store and get your materials. You had to hew the logs yourself after you cut them down and so on. And he said, time didn't mean anything in those days. Well, it still doesn't. I don't think anybody pays attention to time in Judic. We're late for everything. But I had to laugh because you can see how people lived in those days and the connections there. And I also noted in the family there was a belief in forerunners. And there was a story told of somebody, there was hearing a knock at the door, and they couldn't explain what it was. There was nobody there, but then sometime later, the knock was heard again, and this time that was the same knock and heard in the same way. So the belief in forerunners and belief in things, you might be interested in this too, with the changing of the moon, the coming and going, the waxing and waning of the moon, and all the focus, all the knowledge that our ancestors had when it came to farming and other things, and how much they depended on things like monitoring the moon. And they believed that it had an impact on many things. I've even heard that you shouldn't cut your hair unless it is at the time that the moon is approaching to become full, because if you cut it at that time, your hair is going to look better. So I'm waiting for that. But anyway, I enjoyed the stories about the Maxwells. We're going to hear more about the family today and their connection to the Gaelic community. And may I share with you 3 recent investments your provincial government has made for Gaelic and for the good of it in our province. I'll just say them quickly. We've started operating support for Thai School na Drachach in Mabou. This is what started out as a Gaelic preschool about 3 years ago. I think it's 4 years now. And very unique. Not too many places in the world can you start a preschool entirely in Gaelic, but they're doing that. And I think that brings great hope for the future of Gaelic. Gaelic Ekbala, which is once you come out of school, we adults need places to go to learn Gaelic. And this will provide an infrastructure and a means to have Gaelic language learning in our communities. And something you'll also hear more about in a few minutes is support for businesses who support a Gaelic presence through the Gaelic Business Initiative. So we'll hear more about that in a minute. Bevalam Criach Achur na Fachlanacham, Levia Torst Mior Hang, do Vul a Comatay Flanagi, do Mìos nan Gàidheal, Gusanachcha, do Hiran McSuali, agus do Ailey Hansen, ag Carla na Gaelic, is do Office Realtas na Haliban, do Rian Divine, is Gaskipa, son an Taichula, is do Vul na Cairs na Gaelwich, fé na mór roinag, son na Hulag, a haat, a viagianag, gus uller na bliana show a djeravag, Gaelwich na Cria. I would like to conclude by extending my sincere thanks to the Planning Committee for Gaelic Nova Scotia this month in 2024, especially to Kieran Walker and Ella Hansen, and to the Scottish Government Office, John Devine, and his team for all their support to Gaelic community members throughout the province, for all that you've been doing to affirm this year's theme, Gaelic at Heart. Suas leis a Gaelic, Savor Roin Akin agus Suas leis na Gael an Alba Nue. Here's to Gaelic language and culture in our province and to Nova Scotia Gaels.
Thank you, Board of Initiative, for it fear that was excellent Minister Tapla Gamora East. Next, Velum area over McGowan, it covered in the Gaelic, Kenneth now Councilya, Hashens, Conrad and Gaelic. So I'd like to welcome and acknowledge Ed McDonnell with the Gaelic Council of Nova Scotia, the chair of the Gaelic Council. Now, could you fouch, Ed? Would you please welcome him?
Taploid. I call the feichen óla seo agus agus taploid son a viniste son an bríd an elanta choirí chéile na betraia so sin agus son a néach fóir sin. So just want to thank the minister for his words and also for those big investments that have come. So that's great to see, and it's great to see everyone here as well as we put Mìos nan Gàidheal, get it launched for the month. So first up, as Lou said, I'm Ed McDonnell. I'm the chair of the Gaelic Council of Nova Scotia, and our mission is to make Nova Scotia a place where Gaelic language, culture, and communities can thrive. And the way that we do this is we have our volunteer board. We also have committees which include members from the wider community, and we have the help of our employees, Karen Walker, and also Ellen Hansen especially for this month as well. So what we do is we advocate for Gaelic. We also advise in different sectors, so that can range from business to government. This also includes education as well. So I said we have different committees on the council. One of them is the Mìos nan Gàidheal committee, and I have to give a big thanks to them today. So this committee has been working since the fall. They've been meeting regularly to make sure that Mìos nan Gàidheal 2024 rolls out smoothly. We also had a big push this year to have promotion, do some marketing, which is new for us, and very happy with the way that has gone. So thank you to Tyler McLeod and his team at Rhyme and Reason. They'll be speaking later, Tyler will be. Also big thanks to Ailey as well, who I mentioned. And also, of course, the province of Nova Scotia. So Minister McMaster has been very, very helpful. And also Office of Gaelic Affairs, Lewis and Ian and Shannon as well. And of course, John Devine at the Scottish Government Office in Canada. So very happy to see John here this morning, coming down from Ottawa for the event. But also, I have to mention the people that are putting on events, across the province, just dedicated community members who are going out there putting on events. So I hope that people can get a chance to take some of that in. If you'd like to learn more about what Gaelic Council does or get involved, you can check it out at gaelic.ca. You'll also see the events for the month there as well. So please take in those and enjoy them. I'll put a little plug. Another committee we have is the dispersal of the donations that are made for Gaelic license plates. So if you've ever seen the Gaelic license plates on cars, those donations made for the renewal of those license plates go to Gaelic projects across the province. So it's an easy way for folks if they want to support Gaelic. We've been distributing funds for I think maybe 3 years now, and it's in the range of about 50,000 a year. So it makes a difference. This year I think was one of our larger amounts. I think it was about just over 17,000. So. So Lewis is telling me that there's over 600 people, over 600 license plates that are in circulation in the province. So it's if people want to support Gaelic in just a little way, that license plate really does make a difference for projects that are running. I mentioned upon the people that are putting on events across the province this month, but really the work that we do, can't be done without acknowledging the work that has been done, years and decades before to bring us to where we are today, and we're really, standing on, the work that has been done, so just wanted to think about, especially today, to think about the people that have gone before us, and the good work that's continuing to be done. And with that, Lewis mentioned Mickey McNeil, Mickey John H., and Flora McIsaac earlier. I just want to take a moment to commemorate Mickey. His funeral was this morning. He was a hospitable Gael, and he welcomed people into his home. And it was just so encouraging to everyone who would come to his home and was interested in Gaelic, and as was Flory, and so proud of passing it along, and I just hope that's something that Mìos nan Gàidheal can be going forward. He was so proud, encouraging to pass on Gaelic to a new generation, and I hope that Mìos nan Gàidheal can be can kind of serve that as well, to inspire new generations of people to the richness of Gaelic, the Gaelic heritage that we have here in Nova Scotia. Sinné bhuam caú agus tapalaibh go mór agus hamíon dachas go mel sibúla Mìos nan Gàidheal tapalaibh.
Míle tang ha saochan na ga hast who was on a shaw. So there's still another chair or two. If anybody needs to have a seat back there, getting tired, please feel free to come up. Taplet at east, what I guess as they finished it, I guess office Iomairtean the Gaelic, as in our fear hang the horst goat, the Hieran, the Ailey, I guess the Wool of Wurge, Ola. Just want to express our thanks at the Office of Gaelic Affairs, behalf of the Minister, for the work of the Gaelic Council. It's a volunteer organization, and we're very, very grateful to Ed, to Kieran, who's here, Ailey, that's working with the council, and the board members who are volunteer board members. So would you please acknowledge the council one more time? It's a really important organization. Change me at first. I did Antonia na be fine Anyahi Tarich agus Shin Kelly Leach. So and Gino Shesev, this is Kelly Schley in our office, and she's often one of our just key supports that doesn't get the chance to come up here and be in front of everybody and get a chance to tell her story. But she's always here as just a tremendous support, helping organize and dealing with logistics for an event like this. So, nach Annie Shiv Kelly, would you please acknowledge Kelly? Maar houdig eeuwig, was een gemeente mijn voorstel naar mijn wereld caillou, heb ik op County Tyler en MacLeod, ik rhyme agus reason. Famous in Gaelic, ik hoorde dus in rhyme agus reason. Ach caillou, rhynes en oppervoer, hebben we braas nog ook a Mìos san arsenach agus geharid to be op County Conward in the Gaelic san opper a vika agus a vika skipper. So. As Ed was mentioning, we had the good fortune of working with Tyler McLeod with Rhyme and Reason, and the work that he's done, his team, in terms of promoting and marketing the month this year. And it's been a wonderful experience in my view. And I mean, our son, Tyler, where are you, Tyler? Shinohain. Now, could you fetch Ed Tyler McLeod? Would you please welcome Tyler McLeod?
Happily. Thanks, Lewis. Rhyme and Reason is thrilled to be working on the marketing and promotion of Mìos nan Gàidheal this year. It's been a great experience professionally, personally as well. I'm one of the many Nova Scotians who have Gaelic heritage in our family, and until a year or so ago, I didn't really know much about what that meant. So this has been a great journey personally to learn more about that. In fact, to about 2 weeks ago, I picked my son up from school. And he asked, Dad, are we Gaelic? And probably a year and a half ago or so, I wouldn't have known how to answer that. But this year, he got a heck of a longer answer than he was probably expecting on that front. With the campaign this year, we are looking to make Gaelic history and culture very accessible to a wide swath of Nova Scotians. We have a very simple objective. We have several objectives, but our first one is really just to make sure that people understand that Nova Scotia has a history with the Gaels. So if people were asked, what cultures do you think of when you think of those that have influenced Nova Scotia, we really want Gaelic to be among the first cultures they mention. And unfortunately, that's not really the case today. We know in this room it's a different story, but when you get outside of these walls, it's not top of mind for people. So we really want to bring that up. To that end, the work that you'll see in market this year is meant to be very accessible, meant to really leave people with one simple idea, that Gaelic history and culture and Nova Scotia's history and culture are very much intertwined. And so you'll see that in simple visuals this year, where things that would be very familiar to people, iconic to Nova Scotia, are intertwined with the Gaelic language. And that's sort of a simple visual representation of that relationship between Gaelic and Nova Scotia history and culture. For those that are interested, we do have some more ways that they can get involved. There's more educational pieces as well. They can take a deeper dive. And I think we're going to share one of those pieces here now. We've got a short video, a little over a minute, that just acts as an introduction to what Gaelic history and culture is and how it is related to Nova Scotia. So we'll take a look at that.
Hi, I'm Bratton, the salmon of knowledge. In Nova Scotia, May is Mìos nan Gàidheal, the month of the Gaels. No, not like the month of the winds, different Gaels. Nova Scotia Gaels are an ethno-cultural group, a settler people living in Mi'kma'ki. They are people who speak, or spoke, the Gaelic language. So what's Gaelic? Well, it's a group of languages first spoken in Scotland, Ireland, and the Isle of Man. In the 1700s and 1800s, many people from the Highlands of Scotland came to Nova Scotia. The Gaels settled throughout northern Nova Scotia and Cape Breton. At one point, there may have been as many as 100,000 Gaelic speakers in Nova Scotia. Today, 1/3 of Nova Scotians have Gaelic heritage, and you can easily see Gaelic culture throughout the province. Next time you're having a ceilidh, a visit, and somebody brings out a fiddle, you can thank the Gaels. It's Mìos nan Gàidheal, and it's a great time to learn more about Nova Scotia's Gaelic history and culture. Knowledge is great, but I've always wanted to step dance.
So keep an eye out for the campaign. You'll see we have digital and social media posts up. We've got some out of home, some billboards around Halifax and Sydney. We've got some closed captioning sponsorships on TV and a few other things. So keep an eye out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you can see that video on the Gaelic Council website, and in Gaelic too. There are two versions, so I'd encourage you to do that. Hello, it's Ian McLeod. My name is Ian McLeod. I'm the program manager and specialist at the Office of Gaelic Affairs, and I'm going to be taking over now. This is totally authorized. I've been asked today to speak a little bit about a project. As the rest of our time together, we're going to be talking about different stories, different initiatives we've been working on at the office and throughout the wider Gaelic community. So I've been asked to speak a little bit about a very exciting project that we've been involved with in the past number of years, but especially in the past few months. Shannon McMullen, who's a colleague of mine, was at Mickey's funeral this morning, so she couldn't do this. So apologies, I'm not quite as familiar with Brias Bell as Shannon is, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it, and then we're going to bring some other people up to talk about some other initiatives. So Brias Barrel is a community-based ethnographic fieldwork project, and it really represents the first stage of a two-stage project, which is a wider Gaelic impact study. And one of the things that's really important, I think, when you're making policy decisions and you're making decisions within the community and government is to have data, to have reliable information, to be able to make informed decisions. So this is a really critically important undertaking that's happened. And over the past number of months, principally in the fall and winter just past, a series of field workers conducted ethnographic interviews with, I believe, there were 154 informants who lived in 64 different communities across the province. That's skewed slightly towards Cape Breton and the Eastern Mainland, but throughout the province, people were represented from ages 17 up until 95. This included people who were first language speakers who learned Gaelic in the home as children. It also included what we often call secondary bilinguals, but also non-speakers who have Gaelic as heritage language as well. And we got some really deep qualitative information from those interviews. The average interview was 63 minutes in length, and you can see a picture on the screen right now of one of the field workers, Amber Buchanan, who's on the right, who's conducting one of the interviews. And the second step of the program or the project is going to be a survey that's going to be rolling out. We're hoping later in the year, possibly in the fall. So we'd encourage as many people as possible to participate in that. The more people who participate in the survey, the better information we're going to have and the better decisions we can make. So I just wanted to touch on that really briefly, and I was one of the people who was interviewed. I'm not saying I cried during the interview, but I'm not saying I didn't cry during the interview either. You can draw your own conclusions about what happened there. But it's really, really important that this information gets out there, and especially that people in the community feel heard. For a long time, that has not been the case. We haven't always felt like our voices and our literal words in our language have been heard, so it's great to be able to share our stories and to have those highlighted. So that's a little bit about Brias Barrel that we thought we would like to share with you. Agus anish, Senator Animal, Aternashanta, Cachaveli. Now we're going to have, and I'm not being facetious, this is no hyperbole. Cathy Ann McPhee is a renowned, very famous, and extremely talented, oh, she's left now, extremely talented Gaelic singer, and she's going to be entertaining us. So I'd invite Cathy Ann McPhee to join us at the front. Thank you.
My Harwich Big Lisa. I can toshach canemy. Who's shing chorum rehearsal vika yenu call. I really put the wee soul in the light here. I asked her last night, and you call them and you would you accompany me, Agus? Half us the galore hurt me. It's very easy, Agus. So with me recording week, Agus arrived here today, Agus. A policeman na hui on the shing. There was a policeman sitting there, and I thought, oh, word got ahead of us. So hamishit a gal or and big hanging middle yenu tor brewing each. Hamidol haing talag. Machai skrieg le ferien machkra. Hawl on the medicai as in Jack of Lean Giak. Smushing hamik a critching a show here door and Gaelic a skrieg. Hawl the shing agus. Hama had the shing talag and Elenu big. A gra hasul a quiet caranicoloch. Croon art to sul a quiet dorocha. Ach falai gaurig, hicke griene die ist agus betalige sacking. Has je geundering na duine gedhei ach. Houdolla vi bjartjach, bi bjartje soundloot agus biwan the girl labria hodiking. So it's a lullaby that was written by Ian McCrae in the 1700s, around that time over in America. So I guess it was the first Gaelic song that was ever written over there. And I thought it would be quite fitting to sing this because it's a lullaby being sung to a little baby saying, don't be scared, the world looks dark, the trees are tall, we can't see the sun, but summer will come. You know, we'll find love for you, you'll have riches and sleep peacefully. So this Jen Catalan Sach, sleep peacefully, I'm sending up to those that we've been talking about this afternoon. Tap alive. Jan Catalan Sach, a chwlang morwn, Jan ffodach mar haw. stundrast natur, biogedenaking, lan bjarches clue, sma vistu natada, slet fedeking you. Good hound na medgaya hashing drast Fogurne kalja nach chedig guperach Noed galasen dulach se jundai blas Bi kron, bi ulen, spishucher fas Rovekar am hing nötting sjohaun Leng hat ich im trochketsch sad wurde den kaun Lembdekischen kadich siatskal chekam baun Kan gern tossen skivach ging haun Sravekar am hing nötting sjohaun Leng hat ich im trochketsch sad wurde den kaun Lembdekischen kadich Siatskal chukam baum Kan gern tossen skivach ging haun Had ma had I le falche jintalen bo Faren doed mi gresh marach Sminam fastje pekok Vig fleskich in tonne Ed bonne vdi kjall Es ninaken dolach Sen gruai maren rost Gian katelen sach A chulang morun Gian fodach mar hau Stundrast natur Biogedenaking Lan bjarches clue Sma vistu natada Slet fedeking you Tack för dig. Tack för dig.
Taplov. That was so beautiful. And I neglected to mention that Lisa MacArthur was accompanying Kathy Ann, so I think they both did a wonderful job. As billed. You lived up to the billing. That was wonderful. I'd now like to ask John Devine, the head of the Scottish Government Office in Canada, to come forward and say a few words. Thank you.
I think it's incredibly unfair to ask anybody to follow Kathy Ann and Lisa. Let's give them another round of applause. That was deeply, deeply impressive. Taplaïv, Agus Mìos nan Gàidheal. It's a real privilege and an honour to be here representing the Scottish Government today. Minister McMaster, Nova Scotians, Friends of Scotland, I'd like to start by thanking the Office of Gaelic Affairs and the Gaelic Council of Nova Scotia for their tireless efforts in bringing Gaelic Month to life and, most importantly, for sustaining its spirit through the course of the year. Their commitment and friendship are the very essence of what makes this celebration so meaningful. Thank you. We're gathered today to launch Gaelic Month under the banner of Gaelic at Heart, which I feel is very fitting, for Nova Scotia proudly wears its Gaelic heart on its tartan sleeve. Right here in this beautiful corner of the world, the Gaelic language finds its way home, away from home. As Nova Scotia boasts the largest community of Gaelic speakers outside of Scotland, it's remarkable, isn't it? It has now been a little more than 250 years since the landing of the ship Hector in Pictou, and it speaks to the resilience of the Scottish Gaels that Gaelic melodies still drift over the cliffs of Cape Breton today. That linguistic legacy serves as a bridge between our past and our present. You'll know that even the mightiest of ships rely on a compass to steer them true. And in our case, I like to think that our shared Gaelic links serve as our compass, guiding Scotland and Nova Scotia toward future partnerships filled with possibility. Whether it be trade or innovation, education, climate, Scotland and Nova Scotia stand as partners, two friends who look forward together, committed to building on our ties through modern opportunities. I was also thrilled to hear that direct flights will resume between Halifax and Edinburgh next month, bringing Scotland just that wee bit closer to home for our friends here in Atlantic Canada. Of course, those flights are not just about the logistics and flying to point. It's about the important business and trade links between us. It's about bringing people together, families, friends, colleagues, artists who want to discuss Gaelic programming in schools or world-class festivals like Celtic Colours and Celtic Connections. With each flight, we're bringing our Gaelic hearts a little bit closer together. But we are also building on all the things that we do really well in partnership, and there are a lot of those. I've talked about a spirit of camaraderie and possibility, and as I look around this room, I see no shortage of either. You have all shown me that there is real breadth and depth to our modern bond, a bond that bridges the miles year after year and enriches our communities with brilliant initiatives like the Gaelic Month. So as we launch into Gaelic Month and celebrate our shared language and culture, know that my team and I remain steadfast in support of your Scottish connections, and we are eager to strengthen these ties for years to come. On behalf of the Scottish Government, I wish you all an excellent Gaelic Month. Tablaív.
Thank you, John. I'd now ask Lisa MacArthur and Kyle McDonald to come up, and they're going to play some music for us. So please welcome them to the...
We didn't practice this either, so.
You're getting off the cuff tunes today.
Yes, yes. This is what we do, right? You know, jam, play tunes. Thanks to Gaelic, we're all on the same tunes. So I'm just going to start playing, and hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Indeed.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Lisa and Kyle. I'd now like to ask a colleague of ours, Brandy Shannon, who's a program administrative officer, at the Office of African Nova Scotian Affairs, to come forward and speak a little bit about her family, the Maxwells.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the launch of Gaelic Month Nova Scotia. Minister, distinguished guests, family, friends, colleagues, and community. I would also like to thank Lewis McKinnon, the Executive Director for Gaelic Affairs, for inviting me to speak about my grandfather, the late George Maxwell III. Grandfather Maxwell was a well-known Gaelic and Scottish singer, fiddle player, and one of the only Black Gaelic-speaking men in Nova Scotia. It's very much an honor to be here with you today to speak about my family history and recognize the connection between the African Nova Scotian community and the Gaelic community. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge that with us today, we have my mother Ingrid Shannon and her sister Brenda Flint, two of the daughters of the renowned singer and musician. The story I'm going to share with you today, I hope will give you some insight to the history of how the famous identical twins switched identities and vessels with crews clueless to their master plan that was devised to put an end to the harassment and bullying that George Maxwell II received. As a sea captain, there was a man by the name of O'Hanley. He would come to meet up with a young Caribbean boy on a dock during one of his voyages. This would be George Maxwell I. The young Maxwell boy asked if he could join Captain O'Hanley upon his ship. The captain, who had taken a shine to the young boy, allowed him to come aboard and sail with his vessel. The captain eventually brought the boy back to Gàidhlig, Nova Scotia, where he would end up adopting him, and the young boy would be raised by the captain and his wife and learn to become fluent in the Gaelic language. When Maxwell reached adulthood, he would marry a young Gàidhlig woman by the name of Mary Jane. The young couple then had twin boys in 1864, naming them George, which would be George II Maxwell, and John Maxwell, of course. The Maxwell twins growing up in Gàidhlig were fluent in English and Gaelic. The twins had later moved to Melagawatch, Nova Scotia, which is about 20 to 30 miles from Gàidhlig. It would be off the shores of Waikagama, which was not too far from Gàidhlig or Melagawatch, about 10 minutes apart, where the twins would obtain jobs on separate ships that would sail between Nova Scotia and the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. Before setting sail on one of the voyages to the Grand Banks, the twins had agreed upon a plan that once they reached the destination, they would borrow the dory from each other's ship and meet upon a small island that they had noticed on previous journeys. And as planned, the brothers did meet up, and they were talking and sharing stories of what was happening on each other's ship while at sea. George, who was a mild-mannered man, was explaining to his brother John that as the cook on the ship, he was being bullied every day, and it was taking a toll. John, being the more aggressive twin, told his brother they would switch places for the next leg of this voyage. Once they reached the next dock, they would again borrow the dories and meet up at the same location to switch back to their original ships. The brothers indeed put this into play. When each other boarded the other ship, the crew did not take notice of the switched identities. It would be John, when he cooked his first crew dinner, that they would notice their meal not being up to the standards that they were used to. John certainly didn't have the talent in the kitchen that George did. The crew, then unhappy with their meal, started their normal bullying tactics. But one crew member got up and went to strike the twin, but he was caught out by surprise when he was struck with a blow to the face and landed him flat on his back. They say that there was a scuffle between the crew, but they were no match for John. Once they reached their destination, the brothers did meet up again, and John assured George that he would not need to worry about being bullied or harassed any longer. The twins, growing up, being the only Black Gaelic-speaking family in the area, eventually would marry and move over to the Melagawatch area. John married a local woman by the name of Jessie Pringle, and after Jessie's passing, he then remarried to a lady by the name of Minnie Desmond. Then they moved to a small Truro, Nova Scotia community known as the Island. John and Minnie also had twin boys, naming them George and John. Till today, Maxwell families still reside in the African Nova Scotian community of the island. Twin brother George, the second, son of George and Mary Jane, married a local woman later by the name of Annie Fowler. And we did have a picture of Annie Fowler in, I believe it was either Melagawatch or Waikagama. George and Katie didn't have twins, but they named their first two born sons George and John, and this would be George III. Both sons were fluent in English and Gaelic. However, John did pass away at an early age, leaving George as the only surviving son. George III was born on February 29th of 1904, and growing up, he fished, hunted, and when of age, worked at the local quarry. George, being closely connected to the communities of Judic, Melagawatch, and Waikagama, he was fluent, obviously, in English, the Gaelic his father passed on to him, as well as being fluent in Mi'kmaq. George would also grow up learning how to play the fiddle and ultimately become well known for his singing of Scottish and traditional Gaelic songs, and of course, his fiddle playing skills. George would eventually marry a woman by the name of Irma Jones and move to Sydney, Cape Breton, in the community of Whitney Pier. They had 7 children, and of course, naming their first two born sons, George and John. We do have a picture from the Cape Breton magazine of George Maxwell, my grandfather, and his family in the front yard of 104 Tupper Street in Whitney Pier. And missing from that photo are 2 of the daughters, Brenda Flint and Polly McDonald. George would often return to the areas where he hunted, he fished, and farmed, and he also brought home his bounty to share with his family, friends, and community members, ensuring that no one would go hungry. George's true passion was entertaining family and friends and performing throughout the Gaelic communities across Nova Scotia, where he would embrace his talent of the singing and playing of the fiddle. There's a picture, I believe, of my grandfather sitting down with a bunch of his family members, and you can tell that it was definitely a time and they had been singing by holding the hands, and as well you can notice the fiddle directly behind my grandfather in the photo. Although not pictured in that photo, George often brought his daughter Ingrid along when performing. So today my hope is that by sharing a small bit of the Maxwell family history here today, that you now too can share this story with others, and you can see the connection between the African Nova Scotian community and the Gaelic community, and know that our Maxwell family is Gaelic at heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brandy, for sharing your story, and I think that important message that there isn't a single Gaelic identity or story, and that this is a language and culture that belongs to all of us, and I hope that all of us make room for everyone in that language and culture at all times, and we remember that with us and keep it front of mind. I'd now like to ask J.D. McCullough and Nick Nickerson to come forward. They're going to speak a little bit about the Gaelic Business Initiative, which is a project that we've been heavily involved with at the office. And Nick is just going to speak. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Tapalev. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. So Feska Ma'ula, good afternoon all. Is Misha Nick Nickerson. I'm Nick Nickerson, and I'm happy to be here along with JD, who's sitting in the third row there, JD McCullough, as representatives and co-founders of Imirch Iomairtean na Gaelic, so the Gaelic Business Initiative. So we're a not-for-profit organization with the goal of bringing Gaelic back into the public through the medium of business. So no matter where you go in Nova Scotia, you're likely to lay eyes on a swatch of tartan or stumble into a Cape Breton fiddle session. So I think this is a testament to the theme for this year's Mìos nan Gàidheal, Gaelic nar cria, Gaelic at heart. These familiarities in Nova Scotia wouldn't be there if it weren't for the Gaelic language and culture. And as the GBI, we feel that business can help support the Gaelic language and cultural reclamation in the province. If you can switch to slide 2. So embracing Gaelic offers businesses with a unique value proposition that attracts visitors, creates loyal customers, and enhances the overall business value. But the benefits are so much more than this. It helps create a very visible public awareness of the language and the culture. It creates and enhances the sense of place, community, and language havens for Gaelic community members, and it supports cultural and linguistic diversity in the province. So the GBI works with businesses who want to incorporate Gaelic by offering language and cultural support, by connecting them with other like-minded businesses and community organizations, and by offering access to marketing and collaboration opportunities that help the businesses grow. Membership in GBI is free, and we're actively involved in member outreach programs as well as developing beneficial partnerships with local and international businesses and industry groups. The reception of the GBI over the past year has been very positive. On the screen here, you see a selection of images from businesses that have participated in GBI programming, as well as partners that we've developed in the province over the past 12 months. If you can move to the next slide. Oh, we've done. So to further support businesses involved in the GBI and demonstrate the value of Gaelic language and culture, we're also undertaking a number of special projects as the GBI. One of them is training frontline workers in the hospitality, retail, and tourism industry to be able to know more about Gaelic and be able to impart that onto visitors in the province and people who are from the area. And then the second thing is the project that I've shown here on the screen. So this is the Gaelic Nova Scotia Passport. So it's a web-based application that was developed by the GBI, and it catalogs all of what we know of the Gaelic language and heritage sites around the province. In addition to that, it supports businesses by offering a second screen where you can, if you're in an area visiting a site, you can click on the second screen and find out which businesses in the area are there and supporting the language and the culture. So just to finish off here, Gaelic in Nova Scotia is such an important and unique cultural asset, and we're very happy as the GBI to work with businesses and promote it. We'd like to close by saying Tapalev, thank you to the Minister and the Office of Gaelic Affairs for their support, and by wishing everyone Mìos nan Gàidheal. So a happy Nova Scotia month to you. Gaelic Nova Scotia month to you. Tapalev.
Thank you, Nick. We're actually now just about at the end of our program, so I want to say a special thank you to the Minister, to all the speakers who came in and shared their stories with us today, particularly to the musicians. I believe the promised song from outside is going to happen shortly, but before it does, I just want to quickly thank all of you for coming. Tapalev Oler Sanachi and Jew. Many of you stood for a great part of the event today, so thank you for your patience and your support. There is going to be, I believe there are going to be refreshments across the corridor, so please feel free to stay for that. I'd encourage you all to look at our poster and other promotional materials. There's a QR code on the poster. It will direct you to the events calendar. I'd also encourage people to check out the Gaelic Council's website, gaelic.ca. There's a bi-weekly electronic newsletter you can sign up to there for free. It's called Oifis, so I'd encourage you to do that. Throughout the year, there's a list of events and relevant information. And I think...
You did great.
Did I? I was okay? It's all right. It was okay. I could do better. Next year will be... The laughter just kind of tapered off there a little bit. Okay, wrap it up. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Don't forget the refreshments. And I think the song, is that going to happen? Okay. I'll step away.
And we have some singers from, just want to acknowledge our students from Citadel High. Wonderful to have you here. Tapla Gamodas and Cheen, thanks so much for coming. And I know we have at least one singer, so I forget your name, but you're going to have to come up anyway and tell me your name. So come up and tell me your name and you get to sing. Anyone else that'd like to join us up here? Come on up. Come on up. Any of the Maxwell family want to come up and... No? Anybody? Okay. Wendy, can you check who it was? Yeah.
It's Joey Mìos nan Gàidheal. After months of practice.
So, hit it first.
Okay, met that. Well, Shagriv Oren the Chai Skriu on the Niki Trishit Hawk the affair son an Elwyn and Nowaka Vekes of Essen. I guess she mach Irchi Hema Shavon. This is a song written by Mackenzie from Christmas Island. About an adventure that they got on in about 1938. And as usual, he takes the voice as if the bard was actually there, when really it's a bit of a satire on some friends of his. So, and it's written on an old country tune, so people from Scotland will probably recognize the tune and the chorus. All right. Gambi kainya gam kupra era fliana hol mi star garo panskalya sanach na tokawa sagyawo iden yo falleles horwe kajeni mi merfamio Quaun conis na cricket was Peter Foch Charms Kakur Gutrisha Hawk me Mangur Sletruas ounce of Fontiac. Eden yo Faldeles Horoway Kajani me Murphy Grand Fesker and a Mochi wine Jaime Gacha Hawam Ruairita Curtis once be to us a town Murphy at Eden yo Faldeles Horoway Kajani me Murphy Adosia Santern Cam High unto an Alisham Hiam Va mi train that va mi bell she shameless on the Saharon Eden yo Faldeles Horoway Kajani me Murphy Orstam to not let go. I'm afraid she'll burst, explode. Name me here a running board. Scavor not rook a wasser autumn. Eden yo. Faldeles Horoway. Gajani me Murphy you make my vraher. Hey Shavuam. Gunol name a hair of Ruisha Honor would ya. Gianna Fuam dar Hore Horst le Eden yo Faldeles Horoway Gajani me Murphy Snur Hickestein Heaviest March Hage me coin there yeser Name me Bargain Rishkan Dabs and Chevrolet no Pontiac Eden yo Faldeles Horoway Gajani me Murphy you Woo! Shanaka!